guys, it's Nik the Booksmith. Welcome back, welcome back. Do you remember the Password Keeper book? We made it quite a while ago, so if you don't remember, it's okay. I barely remember. It's been that long, probably 3 years or so. Anyway, it has served its purpose, and as you can see, I use it daily, but it's too small now. I've marked things off, websites I don't go to anymore or whatever, and I need some more room, so I decided to make a new book and put all the stuff I'm using into the new book and retire this one. But it can't look the same. No, that wouldn't do. So let's make a new one. Just for an FYI, the pages to print out for the Password Keeper book thing will be on my public Patreon page, which means anybody that wants to can go over there and grab them. You don't have to be a patron, doesn't matter. But the bibliophile patrons will have access to the cover images. But besides all that, the entire kit with the covers and also the pages and the template, all that stuff, I'm going to make a kit and have it at my Etsy store in case somebody just wants the whole kit and caboodle. All right. So the first thing that I do is I print out all the pages that I am going to need. And they print out looking something like this. I extended some of the lines for the information and I added a few things. So the old one didn't have notes, place for notes, and there was only a few password sections. So what I ended up doing was I put an area for 3 passwords, because sometimes you know how you'll go to log in, especially if it's like a bank or something, and every so often they will ask you to switch your password. With these entries, there are 3 blank spaces, so you can have 3 different options so that you don't have to keep making just new passwords every single time. You could put down 3 options and then those 3 could just be rotated. At least that's what I'm gonna do. And as far as like the notes section, I thought that would be good for websites or accounts that have like security questions or PIN numbers, that kind of thing that's associated with them. Sometimes that happens too. So they can print out on, this is a US letter size piece of paper. You could also print it on A4 paper. It will just be slightly, compressed a little bit. And then you will see a pale gray dotted line down here at the bottom. And that's where I'm gonna cut off these pages. Once this part is cut off, they'll be 9 inches tall, and then they'll be folded in half. Does that make sense? So I printed 20 pages, but I printed them front and back. So there's actually 40 copies, but there's 2 on each page. I'm going to separate the 20 pieces of paper into 4 sets of 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then each one of these is folded in half. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the edge, and it's about 1/4 of an inch that I trim off of this edge. And I'm going to line up this folded edge on this side with the edge of the 4-inch mark. And no, I haven't found my good craft cutter yet. I still have no idea where that went. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside. They're all trimmed up and ready to rock and roll. So the next thing I do is I grab the template sheet And this will also be available with the printable for the pages. And on this sheet, you will see 3 things. Here in the middle is like just the steps for reference. So you need to refer to the YouTube video, this one, to explain what these exactly mean. But this is just kind of the reference with the measurements on it to be helpful. And then this is the alphabet labels that will go on the edge of the pages. This is the template for setting the labels, which I'll show you. And then this is the template for marking the stitching holes in the spine. I printed this on cardstock just because I wanted the labels to be a little bit heftier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just line up this ruler so that the 1/4 inch line touches the left hand edge of the letters. And then I will slice that off real quick. And I'll turn it around. I just didn't want to cut too close. You know what I mean? And this will be up to every individual. You can do what you want. I'm not your mom. But I'm going to cut even a little bit more off. Oof, that went wonky. I'm going to trim off the top and the bottom about 1/8 of an inch or 3 millimeters away from the top and bottom edge of the letters. And then I'll flip it around and I'm going to trim away this row of labels so that it's about 1/2 an inch wide. So now that's about 1/2 an inch wide. And then I spaced the labels so that you should be able to just cut right in between them somewhat. Okay, I'm going to set these aside because I don't need them right this second. But I'm going to go ahead and trim out both templates so I don't have to worry about that later. Now I can set this aside, checking for reference. I'm going to mark a T at the top. Well, that'll be the top now, so I don't get it mixed up. And I'm going to take a large needle and poke through the little dots. And I'll do that all the way down so that I can use this to transfer these holes onto the spine piece that we make next. And I'm also going to poke the holes in here too. And there's a dot under each set of letters. And I'll show you how to use this little template here in just a little bit. And I'll set that aside too. Now I need a piece of cardstock. And this is pretty hefty cardstock. I'm going to say it's 100 to 110 pounds. And it can be any color, doesn't matter. I like black. It is 2.5 inches wide and 9 inches tall, which is the same as the pages. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score a line 1 inch from each side. So 1 inch from the left side, and then 1 inch from the right side. And since it goes to 2.5, I'll make that at 1.5. So now we have a 1/2 an inch space in the middle. And I'll turn it over onto the side. I'll take my template that I just poked holes in. I'm going to line that up in between those 2 score lines. And you can take a needle or you can use a pen if you want and just poke it through just to mark it, and then you can poke the holes with a needle. However it is that you want to do that. And since I can see them, I will go ahead and poke these a little bigger. And I'm going to mark a T at the top of this one too. So I'm going to set this aside for just a second because I need to make the covers. I have 2 pieces of this lightweight chipboard. They used to be pieces of like file folder dividers. It's not like super thick chipboard, but I think you could use just about anything you'd want. This is probably about 1 millimeter thick, maybe a little less. And these are 4 1/4 inches wide by 9 inches tall. To go on these, I have my covers, and I made covers that kind of look like the old King Penguin books, but it's Booksmith books. It says, sorry, your password must contain at least 8 characters, an uppercase letter, a special symbol, blood of a firstborn, an obscure reference, and 1 gang sign. And of course it's mystery and crime. And then the back page has Roger's phone number that you wrote down real quickly because this is the only thing you had to write on. If you've forgotten the password to your account, please enter the email address registered with the account and click submit. An email will be sent to that address with a link to reset your password, probably, but don't hold your breath. And there is a coffee ring from a cup. So anyway, I know it's silly. If you're curious as to what I printed on, I have been using the Epson premium presentation paper in matte. This is a little cheaper than photo paper, and it's thinner for the most part than photo paper. And I think it prints out beautifully. You can get 50 sheets for, I think it's like $12. So the keywords to look for if you're looking for something for paper stock like this, I think this one is on my Amazon favorites list because that's where I get it, is at Amazon. But some of the keywords that you need to look for is when it says presentation paper, because the photo quality is excellent with presentation paper, whether you get the ultra premium or the premium. Both of them are very, very nice. The ultra premium is for like really high-end stuff and it's more expensive. So I just get the premium. And this is for like menus and brochures, high-end flyers, that kind of thing. But it's about, it says it's 44 pound or 165 GSM. So it's not cardstock. Well, it's kind of like cardstock. I don't know. It's just a really, really nice paper stock. And I always get consistent results. When I print on my inkjet printer, I have a Canon. Maybe this paper will be good for you as well. I know Office Depot carries the Epson presentation paper. So if you have one locally to you, you can go there. It's quite a bit more expensive, at least in my experience, than Amazon. The Epson is not double-sided. So only one of the sides is the printing side, but you should be able to read the paper that comes with it. And when you take the paper out, you'll be able to look at it and you should be able to see. It's not going to show up on camera, but the side you print on has this soft velvety finish. And then on the other side, it kind of just looks like standard white cardstock. It's not velvety. You see paper pattern in it. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know, so please be aware of that. I always suggest printing out a test on your printer. So every printer is going to be different. So if you print like a little tiny image of something up in the top corner and then change your settings a little bit and move that image to where it'll print a little bit, scoot it over from that one. And then that way you could do like a sample page of what the different quality settings in your printer might look like on the paper. Might save you a lot of frustration. And then what you can do if you want, I have not done that to these, I will put a light mist, like a light coating of a clear matte spray paint or sealer over the top, because inkjet can run if it gets wet. I mean, you're not supposed to get books wet anyway, but you know what I mean. Sometimes it happens. If you're afraid of that, you want to put a coating on it, but you don't want to paint it with any varnish or anything, you can always use a clear spray. This happens to be the Bear spray in their chalk decorative paint series. I got this at Home Depot, and it's actually really nice, and you don't need a lot. But you can use satin or semi-gloss or whatever you want. You can also paint it with like some varnish, like some artists matte medium or varnish will put like a coating on it if you want. Just a little FYI, a little pro tip here. If you decide that you're going to want to glue your image to the cover board, it's going to warp. And the reason why it does that is because the moisture in the glue, in whatever adhesive you use, is going to swell the fibers in the board, and then when it dries, they will contract. So when you first glue it on, it will bend in this direction, like this. And then as it dries, it will contract back in this direction. You don't really want a book cover shaped like this. So in order to counteract the pull that the cover image and the adhesive will have on this side of the cover board, definitely flip it over and attach another piece of paper or something, even if it's like a piece of cardstock, like decorative cardstock or even plain cardstock, it doesn't matter. But try to brush equal amounts of adhesive on both sides. So pay attention to how much adhesive. Try not to let it pool in some areas more than others or make globs, something. Try to get it as smooth as possible. You don't want any dry spots at all, because that's what causes the bubbles. You know, after you glue something down and there will be like a bubble, that's what causes that. And then flip it over and glue something onto the back with a similar amount of adhesive. Then that way it should even out the pull as it dries. I would put it underneath a book or something while it's drying to encourage it to be flat. I'm going to use double-sided tape today because Mama ain't got time for that. So I'm just going to use tape. But you be you. This tape is my favorite. It's also on my Amazon favorites list. And I use it for, well, you know, I use it for everything. Before you attach the images to the cover, if you wanted to paint the edges or like take a Sharpie and go around the edges if you don't want to see, you know, the green or whatever, the gray, whatever it is that yours probably won't be this pale green color, right? Now would be the time to do that. Sometimes I just use a Sharpie. It's easier that way at times. I'm just going to take off one strip of the tape. Try to get it as even as possible. I guess you could cut your chipboard quite a bit bigger than you need it to be. And then attach your image, your cover image, and then cut out around it as well, if you're a better cutter afterward than you are beforehand. You know, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes I think that might be a good idea to do that. Sometimes I'm not real great at that, lining everything up. So there is the back side and then the front side. If you aren't gluing down your cover images, then you don't have to worry so much about making sure that the grain of the paper or the cardstock is going in the long ways direction. If you are using glue, then it's a lot more important. I did make these a little bigger than I needed them to be, so I can trim this if I want, which my OCD is screaming at me to do, so you can't hear it, but it's screaming. Let me tell you, any of you with OCD out there, like, we all can be particular, but if you really do have OCD, like I do, then you know that the struggle is indeed real. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take that cardstock, that spine piece that we created, and I'm going to go ahead and bend these score lines. Like this. Of course, I chose black, which is going to be hard to see, I think. Leave it to me to make everything more complicated than it needs to be. And since they should be about an inch, I should be able to take the covers, and on the spine side, which is the left side of the front, I'm going to put a stretch of this double-sided tape smack dab up against that spine side. And then with the back, then the spine side is to the right, and I shall do the same. I keep looking at the camera to make sure it's doing its thing. I hope it is. Are you still recording up there? I still haven't gotten another one. Yeah, I'm on borrowed time here. I know, because when was it that I talked about needing to get another camera? For one, you have to be able to afford it. That helps. Okay, so this is the T that I marked, so that's the top. So I know that this is the front. What I'm going to do, I have this painter's tape. And I'm going to take just a couple of little tiny pieces. I'm going to tape down this piece so that it doesn't shift around on me while I'm trying to tape everything on. And then, let me scoot you in a little bit. Scoot McGroot. I will take the tape off. And I'm going to line up this edge just to this side of this score line. I don't want it on the score line, but I want it just inside that. Okay, I think that worked. And then I will flip this around, take that off, and then do the same. Line this up and attach it just inside or underneath that score line. All right. Okay, so now we have this. Look good? So that is our cover. Then as far as attaching these guys, I'm going to take the template from what I made the holes, and I'm just going to line this up with the top and bottom of the paper and scoot it to the fold. And then I can take a pen or a pencil or whatever and just mark the fold where these 5 rows of holes line up. Does that make sense? Now, where is my, here it is. I shall take this large darning needle and poke through these holes through the fold line. Easier said than done. Just make sure that the papers are lined up, the top and the bottom. If you have to paper clip them together, there's no shame in that. And then I'm just going to take this middle one and put it inside each of these, and then use the this one as a guide to poke holes in the other 3 signatures. And I just got to remember to put this one back with this first signature. I'm going to do just a simple 5-hole pamphlet stitch, and each of these signatures will be sewn in independently, which sometimes makes it a little easier, especially on beginners. I have chosen 2 strands of embroidery floss in a color that kind of matches the cover, but it should also show up against the black and the white. I thought maybe that would be appropriate. I'm going to start with just the first signature, and you can begin inside the signature, or you can begin from the outside of the spine, depending on where you want to leave the tie. I'm going to start on the inside of the signature because I want the tie to be on the inside. And I'm going to go through the middle hole of that first row. Pull that through, and I'm going to grab a little clip to clip on so that that tail doesn't pull all the way through, because we'll need that. And then I'm going to go back in through the second hole. I went down. You can go down or up, it doesn't matter. And then in through the corresponding holes in the signature. And then I go out through the top and that same row. Then I will go back in to that second one, like that. And then I will go out through the middle one that's underneath this clip. And your thread will most likely get caught on the clip because that's the way the universe works. If you tried to do it, you wouldn't be able to do it. But in all other scenarios, it will happen. Then I go back in through the next one up and out through the top one and the first hole. Then back in, and I will pull gently to make sure. And I pull in the direction that the thread came from. So I don't pull against it. I pull in the direction it came from. So in both situations there. And then I'm going to tuck this needle underneath that stretch right there. And then tie the tail to the end of the thread. I'll just make a square knot. And then I switch and I do one pass in the opposite with this one going over this one. And I'll just trim those. And then that is how each of these 4 signatures get sewn in. Anyway, they get sewn on the exact same way. I was looking for a recipe for pancakes, and I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, just something a little, I don't know, a little bit different. My daughter likes rice pancakes, or at least she used to. So I was just looking for something. Anyway, I came across this video on YouTube that was with oatmeal, and I thought, oh, well, maybe that'll be neat. Let me see what you guys think. So as I watched this video, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna soak some. Okay, now we've got avocado. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we're making some guacamole. Odd, but I'm with you. And then set that aside. And then I thought, oh, I guess we're gonna have some scrambled eggs with the oatmeal. And then she proceeded to add eggs to the damp but uncooked oatmeal. And then she put some oil in the pan and just proceeded to drop them. And I'm like, what in the Oliver twist is going on here? Are these gruel cakes? These are gruel cakes. So now I'm thoroughly confused, but they finish cooking. Then they get out cream cheese. All right, cream cheese. We're gonna spread that real super duper thin. Not sure why we even bothered, but okay. Is anybody even gonna taste that on our gruel cakes? And then, I kid you not, they grab the salmon. Oh my goodness graciousness. Oh, but we're not done, because it's time to add the guacamole. Oh, wow. So, probably don't have to tell you guys that I decided not to go with this recipe. It's gonna be a hard pass for me. And then I thought, wonder what the comments are like. Has anybody tried this? Anybody doing this? Sometimes I find recipes on YouTube. I wonder if perhaps they were just trying to get some kind of a clickbaity reaction because, like, really? Some of these videos have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. I am in the wrong business. Apparently, I need to just make off-the-wall weird recipes. I mean, I'm sure the good recipes do well too, but these strange ones, and maybe it's not strange to some of you. Maybe this is totally normal and I'm just missing out on something that is culinarily excellent, and I'm just an ignorant yokel that doesn't know any different, which could absolutely, totally be the case. I am not going to deny that. But I don't know. I've got my doubts that this would be, I mean, it's edible, but I'm not thinking I would enjoy that at all. If you're going to give me guacamole, I'm going to need chips, not oatmeal egg gruel cakes. No, thank you. Okay, one more signature and we can finish this up. This video's probably getting really, really long. Y'all have stuff to do. Feel free to fast forward and make me sound like a chipmunk. I'll do you one better. I'll fast forward this part so it goes by quicker. Ta-da! Okay, now for the labels. If you grab the little template for the labels, what we're going to do is we're going to mark with a pencil. So on the first page, of course, is where the first label goes, and I'm going to mark where it says AB. Then each label gets 3 pages. So 1, 2, 3. And then on the 4th page, I'll mark CD. And then 1, 2, 3. And then on the 4th page, I'll mark EF. And then that's how it goes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's how it goes down the line for all 13 labels. 1, 2, 3. And you can like mark them if you're gonna, if you think you might forget. 2, 3. Because I just about forgot what spot I was on. So OP, and then I'll mark through it, and then that way I'll know. So now all 13 of those, I just realized I was zoomed in, so I hope you were able to see what I was doing. Just started at the top and went all the way down. So if we grab the labels that we trimmed out, I mean, you can use glue or tape or whatever. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue under the blank side. And I'm just going to line these up and glue them on to the edge of the paper. So where you see the dot, So here's my next dot, and here's my next label. Put some glue on the back side underneath the blank edge, and then I just like center the tab over that dot, and I leave the C and the D hanging over the edge. I don't know, about a 1/4 inch, I guess. About half of it on the paper and half of it not on the paper. I won't micromanage you and your placement. Where am I at? A, B, C, D, E, M, E, F. This is just white glue, by the way. Doesn't matter what you use. So since there's 2 letters, put the dot kind of between where those 2 letters meet. So now all the tabs are staggered all the way down so you can see them, which is helpful to me because I will flip through the entire thing to see what I'm looking for, I guess. But I think it looks pretty good. Little pockets can be put on the inside if you'd like. I don't think I will do that, but you could. Oh, forgot to turn one of my lamps on. But that is it for this little project. I hope it's useful for you. As a reminder, the downloadable printable pages are on my public Patreon page for anybody to grab, along with the page of labels and templates. If you are a bibliophile Patreon member, then the covers are in there as well. And then the whole kit will be loaded up on Etsy for those that don't want to bother with any of that. Thank you for joining me today. I've got a neat project that I am starting on. I've just finished kind of planning and figuring out what I want to do, so I got to start building. So hopefully with the next video there will be a craft time mystery while I play a video of the building part. That's the plan. But until then, I hope everybody is having an excellent week, and I will see you all really, really soon in the next video. Bye, guys.